мұсылман ұлтын жою керек, мұсылманның жазуын, мұсылман киімін бәрін жоғалту керек. Бірыңғай Қытай болу керек деген жоспарлаған.
The Chinese government has long treated the Turkic Muslim population of Xinjiang with disdain and hostility. It considers their distinct identity, their religion, their culture, their language, as evidence of political disloyalty, of separatism. And since the new party secretary, Chen Chuanguo, came to power in the region 2 years ago, the authorities have stepped up their Strike Hard campaign, which is designed on paper to eradicate terrorist threats, but in reality is being used to justify massive abuses across the region, including the establishment of political education camps in which people are forced to swear their loyalty to the party and the government.
сосын мемлекеттің маузудың жырларын, сосын Шинжипиннің мың жасауын, өзің жалпы Қытай халқының өмір тарихын жырлау деп ғой, сондай.
There may be up to 1 million people being held in these camps, and it doesn't seem to matter that there's no legal basis for arbitrarily detaining people and forcing them to go through this kind of re-education.
A family member from every family was imprisoned for no reason.
It has been 8 months since I last saw my son or heard his voice. Like that's not enough, they put my 13-year-old daughter in a political re-education camp.
Our recent research shows that life inside the political education camps and life in Xinjiang in general are actually not so very different.
They started cracking down on religion. They began detaining those wearing hijabs or those covering their faces.
They canceled teaching in Kazakh and all teaching was going to be in Mandarin. I came here so that my children won't be forced to be Chinese.
After a surge of anti-government violence in the early 2000s, Chinese authorities began to refer to the Uyghur descent more frequently as terrorism. Since China's launch of the War on Terror campaign in 2014, more than 1.5 million Uyghurs have disappeared into a vast network of re-education and forced labor centers under the disguise of China's poverty alleviation program. In December 2017, the Wall Street Journal reported on China's rapidly growing DNA database. Under China's Physicals for All program, authorities are collecting DNA samples, fingerprints, iris scans, and blood types of all residents between the ages 12 and 65, according to official documents uncovered by Human Rights Watch. In one case, police interrupted classes at a school and asked all the boys from kindergarten through high school to spit into small plastic boxes without their consent or an explanation as to why. Since 2016 to 2017, nearly 36 million people took part in the DNA sampling. Patent applications filed in China in 2013 and 2017 described ways to sort DNA samples by ethnicity as a necessary tool for fighting terrorism. Despite international criticism, satellite images show how China has supersized internment camps, including images of detainees bound and blindfolded as they are loaded onto buses. 2 leaked government documents provide accounts of grounds for the endless detentions in this region, the most common being born after the 1980s, praying, fasting, attending mosque, having relatives abroad, having WhatsApp, or birth policy violations. In addition to mass detention of Uyghurs, in 2019, the Wall Street Journal reported the demolishing of their neighborhoods and sacred sites. Research and satellite images show Chinese authorities have razed or damaged about 16,000, or 2/3, of the mosques in the Xinjiang region, in addition to shrines, cemeteries, and pilgrimage routes. Former detainees have testified to systematic mass rape and other sexual abuse in the detention facilities, perpetrated by security officials, including references to masked men, the use of an electrified stick, bites all over your body, witnessing police take young girls into a closed room with some never to return, and other details too graphic to mention. Uyghur women both within and outside the camps are subjected to coercive birth prevention procedures, including forced sterilization, IUD placements, abortions, and unknown injections or medications stopping menstrual cycles. The birth rates in Xinjiang have always been higher than mainland China. However, between 2017 and 2018, in just one district, the percentage of women who were infertile increased by 124%. By 2019, Xinjiang planned to subject at least 80% of women of childbearing age to sterilizations or IUD placements, including women who have never had children. A former detainee now exiled in Turkey testified that she had undergone tubal ligation sterilization, and after seeing a doctor in Turkey, only then did she find out the method performed was irreversible. The strategy for moving vast numbers of rural minority populations into wage labor is predicated upon low-skilled, labor-intensive industries. This focuses on the manufacturing of textiles and garments, electrical products, shoes, furniture, and so on. Xinjiang produces 85% of China's and 20% of the world's cotton. Government documents indicate that by 2023, Xinjiang wants to have 1 million workers in textile and garment industries, with 65% coming from the southern Uyghur majority regions. The government provides significant subsidies to companies that hire ethnic minorities from vocational training internment camps, or VTICs. Xinjiang's multi-layered schemes of forced labor, the lack of foreign access to the region, and the increased blending of VTICs and non-VTIC labor has made the global supply chain auditing process extremely challenging. In August, the Wall Street Journal reported that Chinese authorities shut down a U.S. labor auditor's local China partner, Verite, further complicating efforts by multinationals to certify supply chains in the country. The U.S. government has taken action in response to the human rights abuses in and in connection to Xinjiang under the PRC government, but with restricted access to China's operations, many of the traditional tools that companies use, such as labor audits, are not effective in this context. These modern-day problems require modern-day solutions, such as DNA tracing of raw materials. Award-winning Swiss technology company Healixa developed a technology based on DNA to mark, trace, and authenticate products from source to retail. This company turns the product itself into the carrier of information about its origin and journey along the supply chain. Their solutions can be applied to textiles, gold, diamonds, and other raw products and materials. Integrating this type of DNA technology will not only differentiate a brand, it will also provide us, the end user, with assurances that our purchases are genuine and free of unethical labor so that we can be more responsible consumers. I first heard about the Uyghur genocide in 2018, and I chose this topic because the majority of people I have asked about this never heard of it. My biggest challenge with this assignment was squeezing so much information into such a short segment. We are so fortunate to live in a free country, and it is our duty to not only protect our freedoms at all costs, but also create awareness about the injustices occurring outside of our comfy American bubble. This segment was my opportunity to create awareness about the injustice, and I implore each one of you to share this story on their behalf. Thank you for listening.